Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new elite family of woods and irons from Callaway.
Mollie Marcoux Samaan is kind enough to join us now as she winds down her stint as LPGA Tour Commissioner. Mollie, when you're in a high-profile job like yours, there's always plenty of people who are willing to render a verdict on how you're doing. But how do you personally feel about your tenure? Will you look back on it as a success, as a failure, or something in between?
Oh, no, I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. First of all, it's been a tremendous honor to serve in this role. But I'm really proud of what we've accomplished in the 3.5 years, almost 4 years that I've been, with the LPGA. I think we've grown purses. I think that's the number one thing that we look at is how are we providing opportunities for our, the best athletes in the world to live their dreams through golf, and to have 90% growth in purses from 2021 to 2024 and still growing, and to have the player income, double during that period. And there's been so many other positives and so much other growth just from the full media consumption. In 2021, 4 million people a week were tuning in and really consuming the LPGA content. Then we went to 7 million last year to peak over 11 million. And then to have, a couple of our events be 26 million at the Chevron Championship, 42 million people consuming our content at Solheim Cup. I mean, those are really big numbers. And to have that growth during that period, I think we've also, really proud of the strategy that we've built. I think it's a really solid strategy that will allow the LPGA to continue to grow into the future. And we built an infrastructure to handle the demand and to handle the growth that's going to occur. So I look back on it. I've built some amazing relationships. I've loved every minute of it, and I'm really proud of what we accomplished. So yeah, no, I'm thrilled with what we've done, and I know that the LPGA is positioned for tremendous future, which is really important to me. Obviously, someone who cares so deeply about the organization and about women's sports.
A lot of positive numbers there. There is over a year left on your contract. So I'm curious what brought you to the decision that now is the time to go. Did you feel as though you lost the support of your board of directors or your players somewhere along the line?
No. I mean, I think, timing is always sort of everything in life. And I think we come to a point where we, that, like I said, the strategy, we really spent a lot of time on building that. We built the infrastructure. And for me personally, my husband and I have 3 children, and to have the time to, it's a taxing job, obviously. It's amazing, it's challenging, but to have time to cheer on my children at this kind of critical point in their lives is really important to me. My son's in high school, he's got a couple more years left, and to be able to watch him pursue his passions was really important to me. And then also to be able to continue to pursue, my passions, which I've had amazing jobs, really 4 great organizations that I've worked for in my 30-plus year career. And this just felt like the right time to be able to pursue those other opportunities. So no, I think this was the right decision for me, and I'm excited about what comes ahead for the LPGA and for me personally.
You mentioned some of the accomplishments that you're most proud of over the last 3 years. Is there one accomplishment that you set out to achieve, and despite your best efforts, you couldn't quite get there, and it still bugs you to this day?
Well, I mean, I think if you're a hard-charging, type A, growth-minded person, you're always looking at how we can do better. I mean, every day I think we reflect and say, what can we be doing better? So I would say I think there's still a lot more room for growth in the corporate marketing side of our business, and I think we've built that infrastructure now to be able to achieve those goals. I think we really set out to kind of expand the technology of the LPGA. We're right on the precipice of that, and I know the team's going to get there. But those are some things that were really, really important to me. I think we have grown our corporate marketing program significantly. We have a really great team that's ready to capitalize on that. I do think there's more growth to be had there, and I also think that sort of how we get LPGA into that next level of technology will be really important. So we've been working hard at that. We haven't quite gotten that exactly where we want to get it yet, but we've got great plans for that, and I think we're really close.
One of the criticisms we've seen leveled at you several times is that you're a poor communicator. Do you think that was a fair criticism?
I mean, obviously, no. I mean, I think I think we've developed great relationships with our players and with our partners, and it's there's a lot of constituents with the LPGA, and I think for me, it's always just about being who you are and being authentic and having real direct conversations with people and developing those relationships. So I think in these high-profile jobs, as you said, there'll always be people who provide different feedback, and I think the goal is to just take the feedback and stay true to who you are and move forward. So, as I said, I'm really proud of what we've accomplished.
Donald Rumsfeld, the former Defence Secretary, had a great line where he used to say that certain things were not his fault, but they were his responsibility. Is that the approach you had to take with certain things like, say, the Solheim Cup transport issues or the players no showing at that dinner at the CME Tour Championship, where it wasn't necessarily your fault, but as the leader of an organisation, it was a somewhat embarrassing moment and you had to personally take responsibility for that?
Yeah, I mean, I believe really strongly in accountability and teamwork. And as the leader of the organization, you have to own all of it. You're obviously not involved in every detail of a pretty complex global organization, but you have to own it. And I think the big thing, as I said before, you've got to figure out how to get better from any mistakes that are made. And every organization has challenges, and you look at it, you diagnose it, and you move forward. But yeah, I mean, I've always been someone who looks internally and says, okay, what could I do better? What could our team do better? And let's move forward from there. So I think accountability is really key for a leader, and to make sure that you take that on. That's really what a leader does.
And accountability doesn't just extend to your office, it extends to all of the constituents. Do you feel as though over the 3 years you had the buy-in from your top players, that they actually understand what they need to do to sell the product as much as what you need to do?
I think so. I mean, we talk about that a lot in our player meetings, and the players are amazing, first of all. I mean, I am so impressed with what they do and how they handle themselves on and off the golf course. And, again, I think they're doing a fantastic job. I do think it is a team effort. I think everybody in the organization, from the staff to the leaders to the board to the players to our partners, all of us need to be aligned on where we're going. This is, we're all committed to the growth of the LPGA, the growth of golf, the growth of women's sports. And it's never one constituent's job to do all of it. And so I think that we talked about that a lot in our player meetings, talked about it a lot with players individually. And I think, everyone has to be a part of the growth, which we've said many times. And I do think they understand that. They have a lot of pressures on them. There's a lot of responsibilities on our players. And it's a competitive, hard, environment out there. They're playing against the very best in the world. And they do need to focus on being great themselves individually. But I know that they know how important the LPGA is and how important their role is in continuing to grow it.
Do you see any scenario, Mollie, in which the LPGA Tour would form some kind of financial partnership with the Saudis or the Public Investment Fund or Live Golf?
Yeah, I mean, I think that will be a decision if those opportunities come forward for the LPGA. That will obviously be a decision that the new commissioner and the board will have to make. I mean, I think I've been pretty clear on, the idea that women's sports right now needs investment, and with investment, there's really no end to where we can go. And so I'm a big proponent of taking investment. I think, as I've also said along the way, that the job of the commissioner, the job of the board, is to evaluate opportunities as they are presented and determine, for me, as a women's organization, does any investment or any partnership elevate the women on the tour and elevate girls and women? So that's, I think, the lens that should be used to figure out, how to move forward with any type of investment.
But does it matter where that money comes from? I mean, would it have... it won't be your decision, as you say, but given the values issues at stake here, would that have troubled you personally to have to negotiate that kind of deal?
I think you have to, again, the goal and the role of the commissioner is to evaluate what opportunity it would provide. And so it's hard to answer it, in isolation. I think you got to look at, okay, is this going to elevate the women? Is it going to elevate girls and women more broadly? Is it going to grow the game? There's a lot of factors. So, I can't answer that right now, but I think you'd have to evaluate all of that, as I've said, all along throughout the last several years.